Third time's a charm, huh? Bismillah. My name is Debbie Posey. I'm the founder of the Afia Project, and we're glad to have you all here once again. I'll repeat the quick intro about our organization, the Afia Project. So we are a wellness organization that's aimed at addressing health disparities. Um, Afia is an Arabic term that encompasses well-being of an individual. It comes from this dua, we call it, but a prayer that says, Allahumma inni as'aluka al-afiyah, which roughly translates to, oh God, I ask you for well-being. So being in the state of afiyah includes being in a state of good health, being safeguarded from afflictions, and having adequate sustenance. Who wouldn't want that? So in the vein of that energy, we have put together today's program on maternal and child health. All right. So please understand that while the organization is founded by a Muslim, me, we are rooting for everybody Black, and specifically we're rooting for Black women. The reality is that when you enter into the American medical system, whether you are African American, Caribbean, or straight from the motherland itself, we are all racially profiled and treated as Black people, as Black women. And the experiences we undergo are very similar in terms of the systemic prejudice and racism that we face. So the Afia Project operates on the golden rule of wanting for yourself what you want for others. We also operate on the universal rule of preservation of life, and specifically preservation of Black lives at all costs. So real quick, before we dive into the nitty-gritty of stuff, which one are you having today, people? Are you team tea or team coffee? I'm actually team water. I'm usually coffee, but I'm doing water today. What are you doing, Sister Manira, Sister Rashida, Sister Ramatullah?
I'm doing water also.
Water, tea, okay. Tea, team tea, it is. Okay, I see team tea. I see you all. Cool. Whether you're sipping on tea, coffee, or water today, the Sister Village is for you. Here's a quick synopsis of what we are building towards. The Sister Village is a program, the Sister Village program is a forum we're creating where all Black women are welcome. But of course, in order for us to get to what we want to do and be able to do it, funding is key, right? We've been looking at various grants and things like that, but we still need the funding. So I'm going to put this out there real quick, and this is a QR code you can scan if you'd like to donate to the cause. Especially after hearing what we have to offer today, and you want to see more of this kind of programming, please support us and share this with other folks as well. Okay, so we'll come back to that QR code, by the way. Some of the things that we hope to cover, at least over this next 6 months, in this virtual brunch sessions, are really hard topics such as loss, things around building support for yourself through your motherhood journey, self-care, mental health, which are going to be touched on today, and various other things that comes in between. So we're starting from the preconception phases, going on to conception, pregnancy, postpartum, basically the whole segment of what motherhood may look like for different people. And there's no it's not necessarily going to be linear or chronological. It's going to be different for everybody. All right. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our 3 facilitators. Today we're in for a treat. These 3 sisters come with a wealth of knowledge, and they'll be helping facilitate the Sister Village program and this particular virtual brunch series, as well as future ones. So first up is public health expert, Sister Ramatullah Coker. She holds a Master of Public Health degree and currently training to be a nurse midwife. She's also an entrepreneur. She's the founder of Abiyamo, which means motherhood in the language of Yoruba. It's her side business, a side hustle, which is inshallah really gaining some momentum. Her business focuses on women's well-being during different stages of pregnancy and postpartum. Next, we have a doula and educator, Dr. Munira Fontaine. She is the founder and proprietor of Peaceful Earth, Graceful Birth. I'm definitely all about the doulas these days. I wish I knew more about doulas when I was having my kids. But for those who may benefit from it, you may, she responds to all doula service, of your doula service needs. So next, last and certainly not the least, is Dr. Rashida McCain Hall. Dr. McCain Hall is a board certified family medicine physician, and she's undergone some quite intense obstetrics and gynecology training. So here they are. I'm going to hand this off to Ramatullah to take on.
Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum also, and thank you for joining us today. So my role today is to take us on the different stages of motherhood, trying to understand what's going on in this during these stages and how these and what could happen during these stages that can affect our mental health. Next slide, please. So as Sister Fauzia said, today we're going to discuss self-care, but we want to make sure that as we're discussing self-care, that we understand what could cause us to even need the self-care and eventually learn how to manage our self-care. So again, like I'll begin with the stages of motherhood. Sister Rashida is going to talk about the mental, like different mental health issues that happens during those stages. And then Sister Manira is going to discuss how to manage them. And then afterwards, we'll have questions. So let's begin with the stages of motherhood. So the first stage is preconception. Then we have conception. And I will later explain each stage in the next slides. We have pregnancy, delivery, postpartum, and then the motherhood experience. If you notice with this circle, I have arrows going both ways, and it's going in a circle of motion, meaning the stages of motherhood is interchangeable. You may have a 10-year-old and decide that you want to get pregnant and may have issues getting pregnant. So you're back at the conception stage. Or you may be thinking about getting pregnant and then you're being told that getting pregnant may cause issues for you to get pregnant, where preconception and conception may come in together. Or you may be going through postpartum and actually find out that you're pregnant again, which happens a lot. And also have a 10-year-old also. So again, this stage is continuous. It never ends. Even when you have an 18-year-old and decide that you don't want to have kids anymore, you're still dealing with aspects of this state of these stages, and you'll see that as we're going through the slides. Now, so before I begin, I have a question. Can you guys put in the chat, what are some things that could be happening while all this is going on? So we have this circle, motherhood's going on. What are things that could be happening while all of this is going on? You can just put it in the chat. Do this for about a minute. Different things that you think are going on while all this is going on. Okay, so as you're writing, I'll have Sister Fauzia begin clicking and I'll start saying some of the things that could be going on. So you have documenting memories, meaning you always want to take pictures of your kids, the things that they're doing. You have friends. Your friendships don't end because you have children. You have your spouse or your partner. You still want to be able to give that attention to your spouse or your partner while still taking care of your children and yourself. Groceries, we all need to eat. Exercise, the one thing we do know in this world is that they tend to put the pressure on mothers that, you must be fit, your body has to look a certain way. So all this is included while all the other stuff is going on. School, if you decide to go back to school during this time. Your nutrition, so you want to make sure you're still eating healthy, your baby's still eating healthy, your family's still eating healthy. Work demands, if you're working or even if you're a stay-at-home mother, the demands that tends to happen, juggling the multiple things at one time. Answering phone calls, emails, texts, those do not stop while motherhood is still going on. Your bills don't stop also. Family, a lot of family demands. Many of us, when we start having children, our parents start to become elderly and we now become caregivers for our parents also. Again, work. Whether you're staying at home or if you're going in person, Work can be very stressful in addition to dealing with motherhood, cleaning, making sure your home is clean. And even if you decide that you don't want to clean, cleaning can be an added bill also. Playtime. So in addition to documenting memories, you want to make sure that your kids are engaged also during the while life is going on. Next one.
And that's it. Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, there's like 3 more. Your personal business, if you decide to become an entrepreneur, you're now also a boss, and you also now have subordinates that will be answering to you. Listening and staying aware of everyone's needs. The one thing we've learned because of the pandemic is that children have real mental health needs also. So being able to look to understand your mental health needs, but also your spouse and your children's mental health needs. 2 more.
Cooking
You
and
can click them fast.
okay.
Okay. And lastly, we have self-care. Now, if you notice, everything else here that goes on in life that does not stop because motherhood is happening is gray. Then we have self-care all the way in the corner, and it's pink. And it's because we never center self-care. We never bring self-care into our continuum. We never bring it into our circle. And Sister Monera is going to go much deeper into that. But how do we incorporate self-care when we're going grocery shopping? How do we incorporate self-care when we're dealing with our spouse? How do we incorporate self-care while we're cooking? I think it's really important that we remember that self-care is not one and done, meaning we have our self-care and then now life is perfect. It should be continuous, just the way all these other things are continuous in our life. Next slide, please. So as I stated before, I was going to define each of these stages. So preconception. Preconception refers to before you even decide to have a child. You are even as young as 12 years old. Though we're not thinking of the time you're having a child, we want to make sure that 12-year-old is healthy, is getting her vitamins, is going to the doctor, doing what she needs to do, having all her shots are updated. For the adult, on the other hand, we want to also make sure that she's healthy. She's talking to her doctor, knowing whatever health conditions that she may have. So what may be happening during this time for that adult woman is that she's checking for her pre-existing conditions. She's finding out if there's any mental health issues in her family, if her genotype, if she's already married or with a partner that she's decided to be with. He is also learning about his pre-existing conditions and also his genotype. Your research in OBGYNs is really, really important to understand who do you want to help you through this journey. Even if you decide 5 years on the line, at least this person knows you. You guys know each other. And your lifestyle behaviors, what are you doing right now that could affect you moving forward, whether it's healthy eating, whether if you're drinking, smoking, whatever it may be. Things that you're currently doing now that could affect you in the long run, addressing those things, looking at those things, seeing how it can affect you in the long run. And as I'm going through these slides, if you feel that more things are happening during this time and it's missing on the slide, please feel free to type it in the chat. So conception. This is basically when the sperm meets the egg and we have a pregnancy. Now, what may be happening during this time that can cause, a woman to have, to be thinking, to be feeling stressed, or to be happy. She may have trouble getting pregnant. Again, back to your preconception phase, you're talking to your doctor, and your doctor letting you know that, you may have issues getting pregnant. You may have to decide on IVF, which costs PCOS, which, many women do not find out about this condition until they're ready to conceive. Any pre-existing condition that could affect you getting pregnant. Stress. And the stress could be, remember that continuum. The stress could be you already have a child already. You're dealing with that child. Now you're trying to get pregnant again. I read a story of a woman who already had 2 little girls. Her youngest was 3. And she got pregnant again and lost the baby. Finally, she was able to keep the pregnancy after the 3rd try. But again, that woman, society may look at her and say, but you already have 2 kids. But that stress on her, she keeps trying to have a baby and losing it. That takes an emotional toll on a person while still trying to care for 2 other children. If the pregnancy is unplanned, if you're not ready, you could be doing other things in life that you just feel like this is not the time. Having multiple babies, you're expected to just have 1 child, and then the doctor tells you you have 3 on the way. And lastly, happiness. though, you know, other things may be happening, it is still a time of joy when you're expecting a child. Next slide, please. Um, so the actual pregnancy, this is when the fetus is developing in the womb. What may be happening during this time? As I stated before, happiness, anxiety. You know, when you get pregnant, you start wondering about how what you're doing now could affect the baby. A lot of things go through your mind. What may happen, the doctor, all of that other stuff goes through your mind while you're pregnant. So anxiety can happen in pregnancy problems. The one thing we do know is that these things do happen where the baby may come a bit too early for a number of reasons, or you may have a miscarriage. Negative interaction with the healthcare system. We do know of implicit bias that goes on. Implicit bias, basically bias that people are really unaware of. Like they don't even know that they're doing it. You come in and say that you're having pain. The doctor's like, oh no, you're good. I was listening to a woman who had a stillbirth. She went to her OBGYN and they took a urine sample, but didn't give her the results. But she kept having back pain and she was not understanding why she had back pain. So she went to the ER. They took a urine sample and this was 2 days later, she went to the ER. They took a urine sample and they said, why didn't you come in earlier? Again, her OBGYN said she was fine. And the ER was like, no, unfortunately, she lost that baby during that visit. So again, the doctor not fully listening to you. I've been pregnant twice. My last pregnancy, I'm not gonna lie, I went and I told the doctor I'm a Black woman and Black women die during pregnancy, so please listen to me. Needless to say, I went to therapists, I had a CT scan. It was a lot, but I was very, I learned how to become a better advocate for myself because I know unfortunately what goes on in the healthcare system. And again, a lot of times doctors don't even know that they're doing it. Environmental and workplace exposures. Again, depending on where you work, how you're getting to work, that also can cause stress for you. I live in New York City, we have to catch the train literally to get everywhere. Having to get on the train with so many people can be stress on its own. Trying to get, or even if you're driving, not everybody wants to drive and sit in traffic while pregnant. It's not as comfortable. Body changes is happening. The first time you're seeing your body literally grow before your face. Like we all gain weight, but to actually see your body grow is scary right before you. Your support system, this is extremely, extremely important. Many of us, whether it's limited or a lot, it's extremely important during this time that you have a solid support system. And it can be a doula, your family member. Well, a doula is extremely important to have, but your family member, your sister circle, as Sister Fauzia stated earlier, but someone to support you during this time is extremely important. And then deciding on where to deliver. This is really important because you have to know your insurance. If you decide to have a home birth, you have to know it by 20 weeks. You can't go past 20 weeks depending on your insurance, or if your insurance will even cover it. You need to call your insurance and see if your insurance will cover it. How does that birthing center work? How does the hospital work? What's the hospital cesarean rate? What's the hospital delivery rate? Those things are really, it's a lot of information while pregnant, but it's really, really important to know before you decide to go in and give birth. Now there's time for delivery, giving birth. Again, I mentioned the implicit bias. This is extremely important during this time while giving birth, because what happens when you go in to give birth, you're telling the doctor about your pain. The doctor is not inside of you. You're telling the doctor, this hurts, this don't hurt, this is how I feel. So it's the doctor's duty to listen to you and really understand that, oh no, she's really in pain. We need to do this. We need to look at this. A lot could happen. Blood pressure can go up. You become fatigued. So much can happen during this time. You might get sent home because you're not dilated enough. You go in too early and you might get sent home, versus the doctor really understanding what caused you to come in so early. The anxiety, again, this is why it's really important to have a doula. The doula can help you through this process. I mentioned pain, transportation, depending on what's available to you. It may not be easy getting to a hospital, or hospitals may not be close by near you, and you have to figure out, how am I going to get to a hospital? This is very a known fact in the Midwest, where hospitals are far in between, and it's really hard for women, no matter the race, to get to the hospitals to give birth. Your support system, again, really important. I mean, we know with COVID, they've limited the numbers of people in your hospital room, but at least you're having someone that you can FaceTime, call, or if they say one person in the room, who is that one person? Is it my husband or my doula? You deciding on who can be in that room with you. Again, anxiety, you don't know what could happen. There's a saying that when you're giving birth, you know, you're basically almost on your deathbed because you don't know what could happen when you're about to give birth. So really understanding those things, it's really hard for me to put that in words because thinking about it, knowing that you may go in and whether it's vaginal or C-section, you really don't know what could happen to you once you go in. As a Muslim, I pray the whole time. I tell my husband and I, like, we just keep praying the whole time. From the moment we get in the hospital to the moment I give birth, we're in prayer the whole time. And then change of plans. You go in, had all intentions of having a vaginal birth, and due to complications or due to whatever could happen, you end up having a cesarean. So being really open. And again, all of this, you have every right to feel uncomfortable, feel scared, because these are things that you don't have control over. So it makes sense why you're feeling the way you're feeling. Postpartum. So this is following childbirth or the fourth trimester. Again, happiness. And if you notice a theme is happening, happiness happens in every part of motherhood. It's just that there's these other things that tend to happen also. Body changes. People are telling you, you have to look a certain way, this whole snapback game. I will be really transparent. After my second baby, after 6 weeks, I went on a full-fledged diet. After that, I went all the way down to my pre-birth weight with my first child, and I was extremely unhappy afterwards. I was on a diet for like 3 months. It put me like in this state, not depression per se, but it was almost like I was confused. Like, I lost the weight, yay, but then I became like super confused, like what's going on with me. Depression could set in. We know of postpartum, and Sister Rashida's going to talk more about that. But we know postpartum does not only end after it does not only happen the first year of the childbirth. Postpartum can last a very long time. Balancing, back to that circle. If you already have kids and now you decide to have more children, being able to balance that new baby and also taking care of your other children can be very hard. Loss of sleep, having a new baby, the baby is still learning their schedule. We're trying to get this baby on a schedule, and you could lose sleep, which can put you in a state of like mindlessness because you're not sleeping. Learning a new way of life. I think this part is extremely important. I think, and back to including self-care and everything that we do, learning that we're able to balance it. It's not going to be easy. So none of us are perfect at this. That's some of us. I was talking to Sister Fauzia, the Rashida, the Manira. They told me they have older kids and they're still trying to understand it all. So understanding that it's never ending, but learning how to incorporate this new way of life, but still keeping yourself centered and your partner needs, which, tends, not on purpose, but tends to fall short during this time, because again, all these other things are happening. And then you have another person who's like, oh yeah, I have needs too. So understanding how to balance all of that, and also understanding that you do not have to be perfect at this and you can fall short. It's okay. Next slide, please. So the long haul, and as we stated earlier, the mothering experience. And, when you look at the long haul, don't see it as, oh my gosh, what's going on, but seeing as, like, again, this is a continuum. It's going to keep, like, it's not going to end. Even when your child is 25 years old, like, being a mother is a lifetime commitment. And this is when you're raising your child or your children. And, the shift changes. During COVID, we learned that. It was in our face during COVID. Many of us, we have full-time jobs, and now we're becoming teachers also for our children. And again, there's still a self-care. You're living in a house, apartment, wherever you're living. and trying to figure out how, like before everybody went their separate ways and we came back together to reconvene. And now we're in our faces 24/7. When do I go and just get away? And before you could have gone to Target, got a cup of coffee, walk around Target, walk around the park. But with COVID, it got a bit scary. You have to keep your mask on, keep your 6 feet. So that anxiety in addition to that. So understand, and your kids themselves are going through something. They are losing their social group. So also being there for their needs while being there for your needs. Finding yourself again. And we've stated this earlier, but it's really, really important, again, understanding how to keep yourself centered while doing all these things, because we know those things are not going to end. They're not going to stop with the snap of a finger, but really understanding how to center yourself while still dealing with those things. The balancing act, again, being able to balance all of these and taking out the guilt, removing the guilt from yourself while balancing all of this, starting over. If you look at this family, she has like her kids, like the oldest looks like he has to be like 13. And she has another baby in her belly, and then having to do this all over again while she's still focusing on her kids' needs. And Sister Fauziya mentioned earlier, being a Black woman, many of us are raising Black children. And in raising Black children, in addition to everything else, being able to help them navigate this world that tends to be against them. So it's a lot, but I know we can get through this as women, as mothers, because we do have our support, we do have our group. And Sister Rashida is going to go more in depth about those things, and Sister Manera is really going to help us figure out how to censor that. Sister Rashida, you're muted. Yeah.
We still can't hear you, sis. Sister Rashida, there's no sound coming through, or is it just?
Yeah, I just got a message saying that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, but you're frozen.
Yeah, I just got a message saying that my internet was unstable. It's a lot of people on their devices. Let me try to put on my hotspot.
Okay.
So this is just going to be a technology glitch day.
I know, it's cool. So while she's getting that together, just wanted to read off some of the comments. Someone said, snapback game. I'm lucky if I snap my jeans closed. Alhamdulillah. I mean, that's for real. I was never, ever able to get down to my pre-birthing weight. And I don't desire for that. I think at this point in my life, I just want to be strong. I'm trying to gain my strength back. That's my focus right now. So I guess things change for you I have 3 kids that they're 13, 9, and 6. And, we have other sisters here who have different ranges as well. So yeah, you got to pick your battles. Snapping back is not mine. Are you ready, Sister Rashida?
Did it come back on?
Yeah.
Or am I still frozen?
Yeah. We're seeing you better now. Go ahead.
Okay. So alhamdulillah, we had a nice overview as far as what the experience is. I feel like my part in this is to really try to put a focus on bringing that self-care into that and the importance of it, the dire importance of it, of what can happen in the continuum if you keep pushing that little pink circle to the side. So, there are different things that you're going to experience during pregnancy internally, and then they're certainly.
You're breaking off again, Sister Rashida.
And she's kind of pulling everything, and that's how we sometimes feel in motherhood. And so I am my topic is the mental health issues in motherhood, but it's more so doing that dive into the depression aspect of it, and when those mild, as far as aspects of anxiety or just maybe a little despondency can lead to something more severe. And to me, I think it is directly related when we keep pushing that self-care to the side. And so I want everyone, and you can use it you can either put into the chat box, or you're free to open your mic and think about what do you think when you see this image? What is it that comes to mind? What is it that what is it that you see? What's the image? What emotions are you get that are triggered for you? And having this woman it becomes like this chain to her children in regards to it, as opposed to it being this wonderful experience. Yes, so motherhood is a hard time. One of the things that I think about is also just kind of assessing your expectations of, yes, stress. That's
Sorry, Sister Rashida, you're going in and out. So, I don't think she can even hear me. Oh, she's frozen. I'm sorry, guys.
view of what is my purpose? What am I doing here? There are certainly a lot of ways of, I guess, making an impact in this world, or if you're, as far as if you're religiously based of worship, and to me, it's changing this mindset of the negativity, and turning it into, this is my purpose. This is a way. There's many ways that we can have that ibadah, that we can, I guess, give back a way of greatness. But this is one of the very unique things, in the sense that you actually are forming the life of another human being that may have a future impact. Aisha Prime, which is a wonderful speaker that I lost. And she actually said their womb there's direct connection of the womb to the Arsh of Allah, as far as in regards to whatever is in that womb, whatever you are that may be formulating, or as far as who that person may be, that is like exactly the destination that we all have, that this world has. So we're shaping, so in ways of changing it from the negativity that sometimes is internal and also external, to more of this great charge that we have. And whatever the journey may be, or whatever the stresses, or some of the challenges that may come within motherhood, that you kind of think of it more so in that greater realm. So next slide. So in some of that, some of the things that, as far as the negative belief systems that we can kind of put on ourselves in becoming a mother, it turns to motherhood is only about sacrifice. There's no joy. It's just sacrifice. My life is over. I can't, I can't do the things that, I did when I was maybe single or without that responsibility. And certainly economic issues are, how can I take care for this child? So certainly the financial responsibility that you have, I can't go out anymore without feeling guilty about who am I leaving my child with. And, even if seeking that help, as far as babysitter, trying to get that circle, am I burdening to another guilt that we have in doing and seeking those things? Am I able to say, am I tired? I need a break. Is that something that, do I feel guilty about even expressing that and trying to acknowledging that? And, and sometimes with being a mother, we always think that I'm not good enough. I'm not doing it right. I have to adjust this. I have to adjust, always constantly trying to be better. And so that is some of the negative things that we say to ourselves, that maybe others are saying to us, that it becomes, and also you're adding on not caring for yourself, not trying to continue to pursue the things that you love, or establishing found that group, that sister village, that support system. This can quickly lead to the more, I guess, urgent or the more excess end of despondency or anxiety to full-blown depression.
Yeah, someone just typed in the chat, "I'm not good enough." That sense of feeling like you're not good enough, that resonates with her. That's very deep. All right.
Yes, and that's a lot of times. Me personally, I was that woman in the picture that I showed. I have a 17-year-old, I have a 15-year-old, I have 11-year-old, and I have a 5-year-old. So, so yes, it's certainly like, I went up the mountain and I was like, oh, okay, tumble back down. So, or if this destiny of this child, these children I have, who are they going to become? I can be a part of that. I can help shape that. So it's just a change and a flip of your mindset in regards to taking everything that comes with that. So next slide. Am I still here? Next slide. Okay. So in talking about depression, when that continuum where it goes from just maybe a brief episodes of anxiety or self-doubt, to the continuum of full-blown lack of function. That's sometimes how I define full-blown depression. Even in high-income families, 7 to 15% of women may suffer from, I use the term antepartum depression. And I wanted to emphasize antepartum depression because we kind of put a emphasis on postpartum depression, but it can develop earlier on in pregnancy, and it's very important for our caregivers, those around us, to identify early to try to make interventions. So antepartum, by definition, is a Latin word that means before birth. And so it is something that develops even during that time. And then although of women, 10% will then go on to feel that postpartum depression, which can be up to a year out of after delivery, that you're still having that impaired function because of the extreme despondency that you're feeling. Of course, during pregnancy, there are certain hormonal changes that can occur that may exacerbate this, but it's not with proper interventions, and as far as with proper support, it's not, certainly doesn't have to be the norm. It doesn't have to be something that is a given. Obviously, some of the social determinants that can make it turn into that extreme are race and ethnicity. We discussed implicit bias. Some of how are you feeling in your world around you. So if you have providers during your prenatal care that are not listening to you or are ignoring your feelings, of course that's going to negatively impact you. Or if you're are in a stressful relationship, so many women really experience more domestic violence during this time because they are more vulnerable, and that tends to escalate. And that's that not having that support, not having the negative surroundings at home. As I said, the lack of social support, and once again, poverty is a trigger in itself for anyone in regards to how you're going to feel, the positivity you can feel. And so now bringing another life into it is going to even bring that much more anxiety. And so these are the things, and as I'll go on later in my slide, that it's not just when pregnant women are experiencing this, it's not just that particular woman. It goes on to ripple effect to the entire society. So this is a public health issue that has to be addressed. So kind of a busy slide, but I'll kind of go through it. What do I mean by depression? So it's a non-psychotic episode. So you're not hearing voices, not like anything, because so certainly there are other conditions that maybe women may have prior to even pregnancy that it can be exacerbated, but it can be mild or moderate severity. And I said it can happen during pregnancy or even up to 12 months postnatally. And these are some of the things that can happen during that, as far as how it can adversely affect what's happening within you. Are you not eating as well? You're depressed. How are you? Are you cooking for yourself? Are you taking care of yourself? Lack of self-care. Increased substance abuse. Some people use things to try to, whether it's alcohol, yes, we have the alcohol fetal syndromes, things like that, to kind of get away and to release from that reality. if you're not motivated, if you're already depressed and things are difficult, then are you going to really pursue an adequate prenatal care? Are you going to go to all your visits? And during the stress of that, there have been studies that made the connection that preeclampsia for a woman who's experienced that during her pregnancy is a risk factor. Preeclampsia is, it kind of exhibits as increased blood pressure that can actually lead to seizures during the later part, even around delivery. What other, as far as factors that can occur? How is it affecting the baby? That baby is feeling that stress as you're pregnant. And those babies have been termed to have maybe inadequate growth, low growth rate. The woman may, as I said, because of that increased cortisol and those that the increase, anxiety hormones that's been created in that when you have a preterm birth. And subhanAllah, there are some women who actually don't even make it. That they're feeling so overwhelmed in that even in pregnancy, they may actually decide to end their life, which is now just not their lives, they're ending the life of their unborn child. And so this is the dire need where I wanted to just emphasize that it's not just self-care. We gotta make sure it is imperative that we start to create programs that can address this, that can help women, because it ripples throughout entire society. So the next slide. I kind of touched upon that it does ripple, it's extended within the child itself. It doesn't stop with just that mother.
Sister Rashida?
On that attachment. I think, can you guys hear me? I get another. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. The infant mother attachment won't be, that mother may be less motivated to start breastfeeding or stop breastfeeding early. And that child will sense it too, and their attachment to their mother will be impaired. And that's very important with early childhood development, to have that attachment to the mother so that they can have normal development. So if that is blocked, if that is impaired, then once again, that is how that child is being affected. With causal, as far as in public health, there are a lot of studies are kind of going on. So is it really the cause or not? So yes, I talked about women having socioeconomic difficulties and things like that. So because there was studies that show that these children tend to be more sicker, more febrile illnesses, maybe more, like in some countries, more diarrhea, that type of thing. But to me, I look at them a little bit more carefully, because is it that there are other multifactorial things that the children maybe not getting proper care with, the pediatricians and things like that, they may have increased sickness, but it was something that was linked. Childhood obesity, and as I had mentioned before, delayed language, motor skills, and social development can happen with children of depressed mom. And lastly, that child themselves can have an increased risk of developing depression, anxiety, and other mental illness in their own life subsequently. They have a higher risk when they have our babies and infants of depressed mothers. So I hope what some of the things that you can just take away from what I said. How do we look at motherhood in itself? I don't want to have that rosy, like, oh, it's the most.
Rashida, we can't hear you. Yeah, you went out.
Okay.
Okay. Just redo the whole thing again.
Oh, you didn't hear me at all?
You went out for a bit.
Oh, no. Okay. I'm sorry. I have like 6 people on iPads and stuff like that. It was messing with my internet. So am I good now?
Mm-hmm.
So during this is just, what are some of the things that just, if anything, the 3 points that I wanted you to take away during this talk is just, we need to rebrand. We need to reconnect, have new neural associations of what motherhood is. Yes, it is. It's work. It is. And that's with every aspect of life. What aspect of life? Marriage is work. Work is work. Dieting. And it is just within that realm. But if you do persevere and you work, it is one of the greatest things that you can do as a woman, as a human being, the most fulfilling thing. It is, and that doesn't mean to dismiss a woman's feeling of anxiety or a woman's feeling of, some of the things. It's just that we have to start to support that. Our job is not to dismiss when a woman is having this despondency and anxiety, but it's to kind of to seek within each other how are things that we can make it better. And also kind of just being very intentional of how we talk to each other. So if you see a woman who has, maybe she has 6 children and she gets pregnant, is she pregnant again? Oh my goodness. These are things that, we may, negative things that women that we say to each other, so you don't even got a job. What are you doing? So these, of judgment upon each other. And this is where things need to be refocused and as far as being intentional, helping each other and not being not the solution. Because as I mentioned, it's not just with that woman, it's far reaching with generations of how we deal with one another. So I just want to also just emphasize that depression is not just postpartum depression, which is the item that gets the most press, but we need to identify that early on. At any stage in pregnancy, a woman can start expresses it having symptoms of depression, and it needs to be by her healthcare provider, by her doula, or whoever, has to be identified, and interventions have to be made early, because the prematurity, the low birth rate, all of these can be sequelae of that if it's not treated.
You can't hear you again. Uh-oh.
No.
Okay.
What did you?
We can hear you. We can hear you. You're back.
Okay, what was the last thing you heard?
No, you just finished the depression part. So you're on the 3rd point.
Yeah. So just as I said, because I discussed the prematurity, low birth weight, that it can have it doesn't just stop at that woman. It can have far-reaching effects upon future generations and that child itself. As I talked about, prematurity, low birth weight, poor neurodevelopmental milestones. And so it is something that has to be aggressively intervened and looked into for the woman.
Okay.
And so, as we're going to our next presenter, Dr. Munira Fontaine, we'll talk about how we can start to bring that together. How can we start to produce that self-care and some of the interventions that we can do in ourselves to not go down that pathway? So, Dr. Munira.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm really excited to be here today. I'm so glad this is such an important topic. Just kind of talking about how we represent a different spectrum of motherhood here. So my children are all 8 years apart. I did not plan it that way. That was the last plan. But my children are 22, 14, and 6. So I have to parent in very different ways with all of my children. I'm also currently a single parent, right? Which also changes the dynamic and the level of stress that, motherhood puts on me as an individual. But one thing that I try to remind myself in regards to motherhood is that motherhood and these children are a job that Allah specifically chose for me, right? So he chose these individual people to come through me and for me to be their mother. And so versus I have a lot of outward stress as well, like work. I just finished a doctorate program. Oh, I'm frozen. What is going on?
Yeah.
Am I still frozen?
No, you're good.
I can hear you fine.
Oh, okay.
It might be Rashida's, it's a Rashida's end, I think.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, sister. I can hear you. Sorry, Rashida.
So sorry. So, so having lots of outside work, right? And which is work that I have chosen for myself. So sometimes I have had to really reframe the way that I approach things with my children and the way that I prioritize um, my children by kind of centering that, like, okay, this is a job that Allah chose for me. And he chose me for a specific reason. So I'm going to kind of talk about some different things, like actual things that you can do to kind of work at not only self-care, but soul care, really reconnecting back to your soul and helping to ground yourself. And that can be really hard when you're trying, when you're often like the grounding and rooting force for your children and your family. Sometimes you come last. And it's really important to remember you have to be firmly grounded and rooted. You have to have, a strong connection to God so that you can then pass that on to your family. So I wanted to ask, because I'm always curious to hear new things. So if anybody would like to put in the chat, what is something small that you do to take care of yourself? A small thing that you do. So for some people, for my mother, it was getting up much earlier than the rest of us and reading a book. She loved to read, but she liked to read in quiet. And it was 4 of us and we were very loud all the time. And so that was her little form of self-care. I have a friend who keeps snacks in her car so that her children will not eat her snacks. I told her I have to take that idea because my children always eat my goodies. So just think of, just like to hear what are some small different ways. Yes, the long walks. I know that's right. Sometimes just having quiet. I will lock my door and tell my children, I will put on a timer and tell them I need 20 minutes. Please don't come bother me for 20 minutes. And I will put in headphones because I need like silence to clear my mind and my brain so that I can be a better self for my children. So first we're going to talk about some different inner tools that you can do, and you can change it. Okay, so like I said, I kind of talked about, I kind of separate self-care and kind of soul care. So of course, the basis, the foundation, right, is the salat, right? And I really think being able to reconnect, trying to, and I always say like prostration is my friend, sujood is my friend. So when I'm really having a really hard, stressful time, or there's a lot of distracting things often, right? So as a mother, we're often juggling multiple things. And sometimes you're so busy making sure everybody else is straight, you forget to make sure you are straight. And so I've always noticed in my own life, like if I'm falling off in my prayer, if I'm not saying it on time, if I'm like, oh, it's the end of the day and I have to make up 3 prayers or whatever it is, that my life is often out of balance. And it's a reminder to me that I need to like recenter, I need to recenter prayer in my life, right? To help me to recenter myself. And then I can help to recenter my family. Dua is the weapon of the believer, right? So dua is also very important. I put a few different ayahs in here that are related to pregnancy that I often recommend to clients, families that I'm working with. The dua of tranquility in particular, there's a really nice YouTube video of it where it's repeated, just a beautiful recitation for about an hour. And I have played that often in my home when I felt like I needed to recenter and calm myself, or the whole family needed to recenter and calm themselves. Dhikr. So I've actually found, I've been working as a doula for 13 years now. And there's some research that's been done in like Pakistan and Indonesia, that looks at the effect of dhikr and listening to the Quran during like different things that come up during pregnancy. So like I know Dr. Rashida mentioned preeclampsia. And that was actually in one of the studies that I read that they found benefit from clients who consistently did dhikr and listened to Quran in terms of reducing the stress that was associated around being pregnant and also having preeclampsia. And in one study, they actually found that doing the dhikr, like, so the active act of dhikring had an even greater effect than like the passive act of listening to the Quran. So that was still helpful, but like the active act of dhikring actually made even more of a difference from the control group. So in that particular study that was done in Indonesia, the control group over the course of the study actually increased in terms of stress. And the ones who listened to Quran and did dhikr decreased, and the ones who did dhikr decreased even more in stress than those who just listened to the Quran. So I also have some of the, Allah's most beautiful names, just a few I put up there. Surah Maryam and Surah Yasin, those are two surahs that are often recommended during pregnancy. I have a lot of clients who also play them during birth to kind of help ground and reroute them. Meditation. So we actually have a little short meditation that we're going to do at the end of this. But again, just focusing on calming yourself inwards, right? Journaling. So sometimes if you have lots of anxious thoughts, there's a lot of anxiety that you have, sometimes writing things out, right? To help them just sort of get them out of your body. Stress and trauma are sort of lived physiological responses in your body, okay? They don't just exist in your head, right? They're lived feelings in your body. So sometimes you have to do movement, you have to do other things to kind of get them out, work them out of your body. Breath work, we are going to do some sample breath work also before I finish. Oh, there's an app. I didn't even know there was an app. That's great. There's a breath work app. The breath, I think, is so important because we have access to it 24/7, right? We can always work and regulate our body and our body's response to stress and trauma through the breath. So we're gonna do a square breathing technique in a minute. And then I'm also a big proponent of therapy and counseling. Okay, it can be really important depending on what is going on in your life and what you're juggling, to have a qualified mental health practitioner help support you through your journey. Sometimes you don't need it. Sometimes you need a good gab fest with girlfriends to center you and to help you feel reinvigorated. And sometimes you need something more. And you should not be ashamed about realizing that you need something more and attempting to access it. Okay, you can change, thank you. And so then next we're going to talk about some outer tools. So I have this picture here because henna always makes me happy. So it is something that I will do kind of outwardly because like when I look at my hands, it makes me so happy. And so I particularly love this woman's henna, and I also love the sounds of bangles. They remind me a lot of my childhood. A lot of the women I grew up around wore mini bangles. And so when I hear bangles or when I wear lots of bangles, it's a sound that I find comforting. It reminds me of childhood. Okay, next slide. So some of the different outward tools. So one of the first things, doing something that's creative, something that brings you joy, right? So it could be, they have all of these new, like learn how to paint classes, and I'm not an artist, but it was something a friend dragged me to. And I was like, oh my God, I had so much fun. My painting didn't look that great, but it was so much fun that I was able to express myself in that way, and that I was doing something for me, and really just having a good time. Movement. So like I said, again, sometimes really being able to physically move some of this energy and stress out of your body. That can be dance, that can be putting on, a song that you really enjoy and just dancing in your room or in your home. It can be going to an exercise class. So exercise for a lot of people is a big stress reliever. And there have been quite a few studies also done on exercise and reducing stress. Changing colors. So colors actually can change our mood, right? So like if you say anger, right, one of the first things most people think of is red, right? So some colors that have been shown to improve mood are orange, bright shades of yellow. So if you think sunshine, right, and sunshine can also help to lift our mood, and green, right? So if you think about nature, and which is one of the other things on here, being in nature, grounding and rooting yourself in the earth, taking off your feet, putting your feet on the ground. There's also been studies that have shown that if you are walking like barefoot in soil, you can interact with the microbiome of the soil, and it can really help to ground and root you and bring you some calmness and some peace. I talked about womb steaming, which is something that I practice. It's not good for doing during pregnancy, however, very good for postpartum to help with healing, but also the heat helps to increase blood flow, helps to increase healing of your womb space, and also very grounding and centering for a lot of people. Acupuncture is another great tool that I have used and have personal experience with. And it is something that can help, the idea is that it helps to get blood flow moving. It helps to kind of unstick certain spots of energy in your body. And it can really, I've had an acupuncture session where the doctor hit a point in my little pinky toe, and I just started crying, and I didn't know why I was crying. I just knew I had to cry and get it all out. And this was after a period of time of being sick. And afterwards I was like, oh my God, I feel so much better. I don't even know why I was crying, and the doctor was like, oh, that's just because you had, that energy stuck in there. And, you had to release it, and now you release it and you feel better. Massage, another great way for touch to get things out. Adornment. So this is a lot of what you will see kind of marketed in terms of self-care, like, oh, get some new clothes, get your hair done, get your nails done. And I'm not knocking that, because sometimes that definitely has its place, but it's not the only thing that you can do to really work at self-care and taking care of yourself. And so the last couple of things I have on here: bath soaks, scrubs. Those are really great ways, again, at calming and relaxing the body. And then gathering with good friends, right? So we talked a bit about community support. I was part of we called ourselves the Womb Circle. We were a group of sisters, or women. We weren't all Muslim. We were a group of women who met on a monthly or quarterly basis for a few years, and saw each other through a lot of really difficult times. And so just being able to have a space to come and talk to one another and vent with one another was really helpful and supportive. Okay, next slide. Okay. So we're going to get ready to move into the square breathing. So just a little bit about the breath work and why it's important. So Your autonomic nervous system, right, kind of controls and regulates your internal organs, your heartbeat, blood flow, digestion. The only thing of that you can really control actually is your breathing. And so this also helps to connect, also helps to kind of ground your nervous system and helps you, like if you're starting to feel anxiety and you're starting to feel more stress, you can use and control your breath to kind of help bring yourself back down. So to move yourself from, there's your parasympathetic nervous system. And I like to remember it as like, so parasympathetic is like calming. I think about it like if you're familiar with the Marvel character, the Hulk, this is like Bruce Banner. Okay, like calming, mild-mannered, versus your sympathetic nervous system, which is like the Hulk, like Hulk smash. So go to keep yourself kind of over more in your parasympathetic. You can do breath work, right, to help kind of calm yourself down. So this is called square breathing or box breathing. It's actually even used by Navy SEALs. They call it tactical breathing to help them stay in control under high stress situations. And there have been some studies done on it as well to show that it helps kind of reduce some of the consequences of high stress in the body. So the way that you do square breathing is you inhale, right? So it's inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, and then just rest. So you would just hold, you wouldn't take another breath in, you would just hold with your lungs kind of empty for another count of 4, and then you would inhale again. So I'm going to give you another demonstration of it. So inhale, hold, exhale, rest, inhale, hold, exhale, rest. So it's a little hard to do it and talk at the same time, but this is something, so I want you to practice this square breathing, this box breathing, as we finish up with the, you can go to the next page, Sister Fauzia. This is a short, oh good, alhamdulillah. This is a short 5-minute meditation. Is like an affirmation for Black women. And so I want you to just kind of go through this and practice. It's going to take you a minute, right, to get into the rhythm of the breath, especially if you haven't done breath work before. But no one's going to see you. Everyone else has their cameras off. So it doesn't matter if you mess up because no one will notice, and you can just keep going. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to start.
I give love. I receive.
It can also be helpful to ground yourself sometimes by placing your left hand on your chest over your heart and your right hand over your abdomen or your belly.
I receive love. I am love. I love myself. I give love. I receive love. I am love. I love myself. I am a queen. I am so beautiful. I am loving my life today. I am on my way to glorious things. I am following my path. The universe is guiding me and protecting me. I attract positive vibrations. I am strong and empowered. I am walking forward with purpose. I am stepping into my independence. I am stepping into my power. I am my power. I am gifted and strong. I think clearly. I move with intention. I have clarity. I breathe with purpose. I succeed in everything that I do. I am radiant. I am confident. I am fierce. I give love. I receive love. I am love. I love myself. I give love. I receive love. I am love. I love myself. I give love. I receive love. I am love. I love myself. I walk proudly because I know how blessed I am. How blessed I am to be in this body. How blessed I am to have my mind, my thoughts. I know my purpose is served for a greater good. I am making an impact within this world. I am inspired, and I am inspiring others. My body is beautiful. I stand tall regardless of what others say. I'm committed to being the best that I can be. I was made for greatness. I am greatness. My energy radiates whatever room I walk into. I'm beautiful inside and out. I'm happy with where I am. I have faith in where I will go. I'm fearless. I'm choosing to smile. I'm choosing to be happy. I see my worth. I belong here. I attract great opportunities. I attract wealth and prosperity. Money is flowing to me freely and abundantly. I am worthy of success. I release anxiety and pain. I forgive those around me. I forgive myself. I feel light. I feel free. I feel whole. I'm comfortable in my own skin. I stand tall regardless of what others say. I'm committed to being the best that I can be. I was made for greatness. I am beautifully Black. My life matters. I am Black and empowered. I'm proud of my culture, upbringing, and experiences. They've made me who I am. I will not let society dictate who I am. I am Black and I am proud. I give love. I receive love. I am love. I love myself. I give love. I receive love. I am love. I love myself.
So go ahead, take a big deep breath in and let it out through the mouth. So again, just to remind you of the importance and the gift of breath that we have, that we always have access to it, that we can always use it as our number one thing to reconnect. Oh, mashallah, as our number one thing to reconnect back to ourselves, back to our soul, and in doing that, connecting back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you so much, everybody.
Oh, wow. I feel light too, subhanAllah. Thank you. And I don't know if you guys can see this. I mentioned essential oils, and I have mint in here. It's like the paper towel has mint in it, and just breathing that in and out is like, I get nervous whenever I have workshops or presentations. I do a lot of them, but I still have that jitter in the beginning. So I always keep this around me. And this exercise was just like, wow. Thanks. So we're going to open it up for, I think you're muted. We're going to open
Am I
it up.
muted?
Go ahead, Sister Manira. Go
No,
ahead.
I just wanted to say I'm so glad you said that because I didn't talk that much about smell, but smell is the only one of our senses that is hardwired directly to our brain. And so our body will often automatically have an instant response to smell. So if there are smells that you find soothing, that's why a lot of times like burning bakor, oud, incense, your scented candles, your essential oils, diffusing them can make a really huge difference and automatically begin to calm you as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. And I see someone is requesting that we share the link. I'll do that. Hang on, let me just stop sharing for a moment. But we're gonna open it up to questions and answers. Am I doing something wrong? Okay. No. All right. You can unmute yourself or put the questions in the chat box. Anyone who has questions.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Yeah, I've been talking a lot because I'm really, I don't even know what to say. I'm so happy I participated in this workshop. And I wish I would have known this before I started having kids, but alhamdulillah, Allah knows best. But my question is, are there any tips for like, I don't know if we could fully get rid of it because it comes with the job position of motherhood, but getting rid of that guilt, because I'm really hard on myself. Because before I had kids, I told myself I'm a teacher. I'm like, oh yeah, my child is gonna be reading on the first grade level at the age of 2, and I'm just happy he knew how to spell his name. Like, I'm so hard on myself. I just want so much great things for them, but by the time you look up, it's already nighttime, and another day passes, and another day passes, and they're getting older, and they're not reaching the milestones that I put on them. Alhamdulillah, they're reaching the normal milestones, but it's so many great things I want for them. And I'm really hard on myself, and I don't know how to go about it.
Yeah. You want to respond to that, please, Sister Rashida? Remember to unmute yourself.
Yes. So alhamdulillah, it's really, I had told you my range. Between a 17-year-old and my 5-year-old. And it's so funny that you said that. I even said one time, I was like, wow, maybe I should have stopped at 2. I don't know. I'm just not the person that I was. Like, the things that from my son who's 17, who's 17, I was able to do so much with him. And now, of course, I'm a little bit more stretched because of all the different, as Dr. Munir talked about, things in my life now that, I can't, I guess, do the same things. So you're right. And there's always these comparisons. Well, these other kids are doing this and these kids are not doing, my child isn't doing that. And that's unfortunately one of the other things that society talks about. But as I mentioned, in that this, you have to kind of release, in regards to that grip that we always put on everything in our life. And I think we thrash in the ocean of life thinking we're going to swim, we're going to get out of this. And sometimes all you have to do is lay back and float and understand that Allah has this and Allah has you. And that you are just simply the instrument through which this child that Allah already has determined their destiny, everything that they're going to be, and what they're already going to be. And even the circumstances of it. And it's just that tight grip that we always try to put a bit in, is relaxing and letting yourself experience and letting your child just experiencing and loving your child. And we miss that sometimes because we have this deadline and this deadline, we have to do that. And a lot of times what I've learned at this point is that I just got to let that go. And it's not that I'm not going to be diligent, and it's not that I'm not going to try, but there is a plan that's greater than me. And when you realize that, you are able to relax more. It's not a guilt thing. You try your best. We always show up, right? We always show up to be that great mom and to give them the best opportunities. But ultimately, they are not yours to to ultimately guide their life. They are Allah's. And when I kind of, when I thought of it in that way, I said, okay, I'm doing my best. I'm going to show up. I'm going to give them the best that I am now. The me now is not the 20-something-year-old mother that I was before, but I am who I am. And at this stage, I will develop to who is going to develop. And he's going to have different advantages that the children of the 27, 24-year-old mother didn't have. And I just have to let the process happen. So, it's a lot of it. Giving it that guilt is letting go to me. I don't know if anyone else had any other thoughts.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Dr. Rashida. Someone just asked, my question is it normal to feel stressed before even trying to have kids, that you will not be able to conceive? It's a huge fear of mine, and I don't know if that's normal. So I see heads shaking. So go ahead, Sister Ramatola, and respond to that.
So real quick, I want to answer the last question. So many of us are children of immigrants, or our parents had limited education. And what helps me, because I'm extremely hard on myself, is I'm fine, meaning I'm fine. So my parents, though they weren't perfect, alhamdulillah, I'm fine now. So as Sister Rashida said, Allah has already willed it and it's happening. And that's what our parents did. They left it to Allah, and alhamdulillah, all of us are here and we're all fine. So our parents did something right. So that's a good rule of thumb. And in terms of before pregnancy, I had a lot of friends that had children before I did. So alhamdulillah, that was actually really good for me, because they helped me, they share their experience. So any problems that they were having, they actually shared it with me. Though it was good in that sense, it did put a bit of fear in me. So I did talk to my doctor, which is why I said research your OBGYN. Though I had a different OBGYN, the OBGYN at the time, I did let them know, okay, this is what's going on. This is fine. I'm glad we do have technology now that we can check that your insurance will actually pay for. You can ask different questions, getting your genotype done, figuring out, do you have any conditions that could prevent pregnancy or cause a delay in pregnancy, asking those questions. When we did our first webinar, that was one thing, we created this list that, asking these questions, does that really do help? Because we don't know until you're in it, but at least having a prefix or having a starting point when going to your doctor is really, really helpful. But the fear is normal. Had the same exact fear.
Yeah. Definitely normal. And that video can be found on our website to the first virtual brunch we had. Did you want to add to that, Sister Manira? No? Any other?
No, I think she did good.
Yeah. MashaAllah. Any other questions, ladies? I just want to throw it in there that, did someone have? Okay. Go ahead, Ihsan.
So I just have a couple of comments. I appreciate the speakers today, alhamdulillah. I was hesitant to join, but I'm glad I did. I'm actually 32 weeks pregnant, so this was very helpful for me because this is my second child, and my first child, alhamdulillah, was very peaceful. And this pregnancy has been very different for me mentally. I've been in a very different space. But I wanted to ask, in terms of the direction of this group, there are, like the sister said, there are a lot of immigrant sisters who are Black and brown who don't have social support or don't even speak English. So I'm wondering if there will be materials developed in other languages that will kind of like help those individuals. Because I feel that they're those who are at higher risk of being socially isolated. And I think it's really important to kind of reach out to that community. And just speaking for a couple of friends I know, 2 women I know who are Chadian, they speak Arabic, they didn't have social support, and I think the level of stress they face during pregnancy definitely affected their child's social and behavioral well-being. Like the children are a bit delayed in terms of speech and also in terms of eating. So it would be really nice to see us like kind of working towards meeting the needs of that community as well.
Wow, you took the words out of the horse's mouth, so to speak. Thanks for the question, Ihsan. The idea of the sister village, or what I was going to kind of comment on before you ask the questions, was that sometimes your sister village, your social support is not going to be family, which really speaks to exactly what you're saying. You know, new immigrants or someone who's moved from one state to another, you're not always going to be surrounded by family. For example, my first child, I had him in Connecticut. I was in Connecticut. My whole family's in the DMV area, in Maryland to be specific. And people wonder, what are you doing in Connecticut? So I had to find, just kind of make up my own circle, so to speak, people you join with. But the idea behind the sister group is trying to get women together so we can start forming that group intentionally. Not everyone is fortunate enough to be able to go out and get that group and put that group together, even if you don't think it's you're putting together your social network, so to speak. That's what you're doing when you go out there and start to make friends, for example. That's the idea. We do not have funding, as I've mentioned. We're definitely looking at grants that can help support us through that. But that's where, all that to say, that's where we're heading towards, inshallah, to be able to have something formalized. Right now, we want to start out with maybe supporting a small group of women through their journey through motherhood, and then we'll expand from there. We want to be able to create programs, different things. We want to be the source of information resources for women. We want to have the experts on our panels who are, and answering questions that this maybe new mothers or even some experienced moms are having, and things like that. So this is where we're trying to get at. I'm gonna try to put up the sister village diagram we put together. Hang on real quick. So I guess all that to say, yes, that's the aim, that's the idea behind this. Can you guys see it? Yeah. So we want to have resources. We want to be mentors for women and also advocates for women. Every woman who joins, every Black woman, specifically Black women who joins, is going to be a village sister, so to speak. We have the maternal guides who are the expert panel. And then we'll work towards the village aunties part later. We're just trying to take it one piece at a time. So this is what we have in mind, what it's going to look like, inshallah. I see another question. Did anyone want to add to that? I kind of rambled through. I see another question. Dr. Manira, Dr. Rashida, may you please share tips or coping skills / communication tactics while dealing with the anxieties with family or support system around you?
So I actually just wanted to add a little bit more to the, and please, that's kind of key with this question, what Dr. Munir was talking about, but to the previous question too. And it's being very intentional of trying to recruit the resources, the maternal guides and the villages of different ethnicities. We have to create our own, as far as we have to build our own infrastructure. And so ideally we'll have people who speak different languages, and we'll even culturally be able to sympathize with as we pair them together. So as to speak to particularly the women from different cultures and who actually are not even English speakers. And that in regards to the strength of it will be the diversity of those who join. And so hopefully we'll be able to recruit people from many different backgrounds in life. In regards to the coping skills and communication tactics, so there is a continuum in regards to at what point you are, and as I talk about on that, from mild anxieties to despondency, maybe just quick levels of self-doubt, to continual and constant, and to the point that you are actually incapacitated by that depression or anxiety. And so all those things may require different levels of intervention. So the first part is to try to pull to see what are my resources. and maybe start pulling, hey, tap husband, if he's in sort of there for you, and say, look, I need this. I'm feeling anxious about this. How can I? So I think delegation, I love that word. It's a beautiful word in regards to, as far as at some level, this is what I need. And this is how can you help me with this? How can you relieve my anxiety? And a lot of times anxiety is just the things that are not done. And that leads to the anxiety. As far as like, how is the family going to function? And if you are creating this huge mound of responsibilities, things that are actually impractical for you actually to do on your own, that's where delegation comes in. And as you delegate, as you lighten your own load, and as you communicate to people your needs, that is the main thing. That is how you are able to try to reduce those and try to make the family function. As I mentioned, having my sphere of children, having this 5-year-old is a very different experience than my first two, which was two years apart, essentially, and what I had to do and what was so, believe me, that I am delegating. Life is wonderful. Having inbred, so babysitters and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a whole different life now. And so now let's talk about the other side. In regards, it's more severe now. It's more, maybe there is socioeconomic issues. There is I guess you are obsessing, I'll use that word, of the self-doubt, and that constant word is there, and you're now becoming unable to function. And so that's when, along that spectrum, some of the ideas that Dr. Munir had talked about can help. But yes, intervention in regards to seeking a therapist, actually seeking that help is very important, and not delaying that. Or it's because some people, particularly in our in African American communities, we don't seek therapy. It's kind of like frowned upon. It's kind of like, oh, what's wrong with these? Suck it up. You can handle it. But no, sometimes you do need some extra help. You need professional help. And so not delaying when you start to say, no, this is not working for me, and I need some other coping mechanism or tools with my therapist regularly. And obviously always going back to Quran and dua and things like that, and constantly within that spectrum is something of importance.
Right. And you'd be surprised sometimes getting a therapist or counseling is covered by insurance. So take a look at that. We do have some, I'm a proponent of counseling. I've used the Clay couple, Sister Naila Clay. She's my go-to person. So that's one person, and I specifically opted for her because she's African American. She has a lot of experience with people from Africa. And specifically Nigerians, and I felt very comfortable with her. So reach out to folks, even try at least one session and see how it goes. At the end of the day, your mental well-being is what matters, and not necessarily our cultural hiccups that hold us back. Because I've had to kind of tear away from that expectation as well. As a child of immigrant, as an immigrant myself, it was kind of, yeah, there you go. Someone just put in therapyforblackgirls.com. So please make use of those. Check them out. Someone else, you want to respond also to Dr. Munira?
Just briefly, I think Dr. Rashida did a really good job. The only thing that I would add to that is boundaries. Healthy boundaries are also a form of self-care. And I think often as women, we are socialized to be people pleasers. We want to make everyone happy. We're kind of socialized to come last and be very sacrificial. But it's very important that you realize what your limitations are, right? And I'm saying this as a reminder to myself first before anyone else. I think we have a tendency to say, sure, I can help you with this. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can do that. And then we look and we're like, oh my God, why am I doing all these things? You can't do all of these things, right? I think being very clear with yourself first around what help you need. Like Dr. Ashita said, so that you can ask for help with the things that you need, not being ashamed to ask for help. So know that mothering traditionally, like historically speaking, has often been done in a group, right? So this whole idea of the individual mother who can work, right? Who can work full time, take care of their kids full time, and do all the things and be all the things for everyone is a complete myth. It is a
Putting your mouth.
I want you to realize that you are allowed to ask for boundaries and to assert your boundaries as to what you can and cannot do, both in the family and with outside others who maybe are trying to influence you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Someone asked, how can I join? Inshallah, I am going to, so you can go to our website. The form is not up yet, but inshallah, it should be up there. Just click on that link that says maternal health program, and you'll find more information on it. We're still working on it. We're working on it. You guys, it's exciting. It's a great idea that all of these women have helped develop, but it's coming. It's coming along, inshallah. Any more questions, ladies? And you can unmute yourself and ask or put in the chat box.
Micah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
I just had a comment for the questioner who was asking about like the guilt around motherhood. I remember my son was 1 year old. I had to do a 3-week training out of the state, and I was still breastfeeding him. And I felt a lot of guilt in terms of leaving him by himself. And I remember reading an article, it was a psychology article, and it was saying that like the best thing a woman can do is do self-care in terms of raising healthy children. And for men, the best thing they could do is actually interacting with the kids. So I think that I feel like this conversation about self-care is like so important in terms of like how we treat ourselves and what our kids are seeing us doing.
Yeah, thanks for that. Really appreciate it.
Assalamu alaikum. I just wanted to add one more thing in terms of your partner, or even if you don't have a partner, but either way, being really, really honest with the people around you and letting them know what your needs are. So to the point that the sister just made about her going on that trip, and even the previous question about how do you even communicate that to your family, but that's where the conversation comes in with your partner. Listen, I'm leaving. And, you know, you don't wait until the trip to have this conversation with your partner, but you have it prior so that it can help alleviate that guilt when that trip do come. Things do happen. And I'm really guilty of mommy guilt also. But what I have learned over time is having the conversation with your partner or whoever it is that is in that circle of yours, letting them know, I do need help. And it's okay to tell people what your help looks like. I'm really bad at saying, oh my gosh, I don't want to come off like I'm dictating or being a burden, but it's okay to let people know, okay, this is what my help looks like. The kids need a bath at 7 o'clock and I need to be in bed by 8. I mean, and allow them to help where they can, and then you can pick up the pieces elsewhere. But I think being really open and honest with your group, as Sister Manera said, as women, we tend to be extremely reserved and say, oh, it's okay, oh, thank you, and just leave it there versus saying, I actually need X, Y, Z. And then allow that person to say where they can and cannot help versus assuming, or because again, I do this all the time, assuming what they can and cannot do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Once again, please consider supporting us. We're all doing this out of it's just really extra time we're putting into this, but in order for us to really get it to the point where we're able to formalize this whole idea of the Sister Village, we do need the funding, and we're going to continue to look out for grants and be able to, start it and extend it to all other groups of women. Thank you also. Oh, sorry. I hope you guys got a chance to take a screen. You can take a picture with your phone. It should pop up. Let's see, get there. So anyway, please visit our website and like us on social media. We're all over on Facebook, Instagram, and we do have YouTube channel. I'll be putting this on the YouTube channel for folks to view after the fact. So if you missed anything you want to catch up on, absolutely feel free to go there. What else was I? Yeah, and then I did share this already. The link to the actual page. It's still a work in progress, but we're getting there, inshallah. What else? Oh, please remember to fill out the survey. The survey helps us get better and gives us an idea of what kinds of programming you would like to see as it pertains to maternal and child health programs. So with that, that's all I have. Any more questions? No? All righty. Like I mentioned, Sister Manira, Dr. Manira is a doula. You can leave your information in the chat box, Sister Manira, if you'd like. And also, Ramatullah has a wonderful, I've actually made use of her services before, a wonderful packaging system. I call it system because, you know, someone has a baby, you just call her up, go to her page and send a nice gift to a new mom. I love that. So you can feel free to share that information in the chat box. Didn't you? On IG. She's okay. Sister Manira is on IG and Facebook. And then Ramatullah. I'm sorry, I should have prepped you for that. I believe you're on Etsy. Yep, there you go. All right. So that's it for me. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Shadu la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you, everyone.
Hope to
Thank
catch
you.
y'all. Hope to
Thank you
catch
all
y'all
for
on the
coming.
next round of programming, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa barakatuh.